Dear friends, we observe many now filled with light and hope in spite of outer appearances. The future is here and all is proceeding according to plan. Allow the process, which means a letting go of remaining resistance and concepts regarding what should be happening or when and how it needs to happen. Simply continue to hold the light, dear ones, for you are creating a new world. All who are ready, are beginning to have higher dimensional insights and experiences. Obsolete concepts and beliefs carried through lifetimes are undergoing radical evaluation by many and are being recognized as representing outgrown states of consciousness. Some things will be permanently eliminated, while others will simply begin to manifest in higher forms. Over lifetimes mankind has been taught limiting beliefs by unevolved teachers based in ignorance and control. You were taught that humans are tainted and unworthy and can only become worthy by practicing certain rites, rituals, practices, and laws. Most of these belief systems are still promoted by spiritual leaders locked into the third-dimensional belief system of duality and separation. Because of this, their teaching is unable to lift others any higher than their own limited state of consciousness. Unevolved states of consciousness need rules and regulations as they are not yet able to hear their intuition or always make good choices. The 10 Commandments were given at a time when the majority needed rules. You have evolved beyond the need for structured rules, for their essence has become your state of consciousness. You have lived through and moved beyond the stages of needing someone or something to tell you what to believe and are now able to be guided from within. Most of you have had lifetimes in convents and monasteries and still hold a resonance reflecting obedience to rules, and sincerely made vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience in cellular memory. Until cleared, this can and often does affect the present, often influencing sexual beliefs, abundance, and reflecting a love for rules because rules resonate with a past comfortable sense of being on track of doing it right. These old patterns are now coming to conscious awareness for many, in order that they may be recognized and cleared, and one's inner voice can become the guiding rule. Never fear letting go of anything representing a past state of consciousness, for it simply makes room for higher and better forms to manifest. We of the Arcturian group have spoken many times about love, and yet there remains a great deal of confusion about love. Many continue to hold tightly to narrow concepts of love continuously promoted by the media, films, books, magazines, television, experts, and even religious leaders, in the belief that complete fulfillment and happiness can come through finding the right one. Love is most commonly thought of as an emotion. Emotion is often a facet of love, but is not the defining criteria. Evolution is awakening mankind to a deeper, pure understanding of love, shifting those prepared into a state of consciousness that knows and understands all seemingly separate life forms, to be actually an end of one. Everything that exists, must exist within the one, for it is all there is. That connecting energy within the one is love. Love is interpreted according to the state of consciousness of the individual, and thus there are hundreds of concepts of love. Those who remain firmly enmeshed in the third dimensional will continue to think of love as sexual attraction, but over time and experience, often lifetimes, every individual begins to move beyond personal narrow concepts and begins to awaken to a deeper sense of love. At first this deeper sense will simply be more expansive third-dimensional concepts, as he is not yet ready to mine the deeper, richer levels within. The consciousness of the evolving soul will expand beyond romance and begin to experience the love of companionship, family, and friends. He may even begin to feel something that is very new for him, a connection with strangers. At this point many become do-gooders, often joining groups in order to help the less fortunate. These groups do wonderful work and are not to be denigrated, but are a step along the way to realizing love in its purest sense. It still represents the level of concepts, us helping them separation and duality. It is important that no one ever feel they cannot take an active part of groups that serve in this manner, for their members are living out from their highest sense of love, which is all that anyone is required to do. If you are guided to be a part of some particular service group, go ahead and do it even if you do not resonate with the particular beliefs of the group. These are often church groups. The addition of one or more participants of an evolved state of consciousness can only serve to lift the energy of the whole group. Love is only lived and expressed according to the attained state of consciousness of the individual, which is why it is useless to try and change someone unless you know they are choosing to live below their attained state of consciousness. Individuals are only expected to live out from their highest level of understanding, and as they do this, awareness expands and more is given, at which point he must then begin to live from the new level. This is evolution. There are those who receive insights and become aware of the higher sense of things, but then choose to simply store it away as interesting information or dinner party conversation while continuing to live exactly as they always have, which is like asking for a wake-up call. There is a saying that is true on the spiritual level as well as on the mundane, which is, use it or lose it. Mankind is moving through the morass of negative and obsolete beliefs that still hold many in bondage. As you observe the images of a world in struggle and violence, and as you become aware of how much you do not like or understand these things, practice meeting them with love. This does not mean you must like or accept them as being okay while blindly declaring, God is all, but means instead, remembering that the reality behind all things is perfect and must always be so because all there is divine consciousness. Appearances always reflect the illusory beliefs of unawakened states of consciousness. Many still leave themselves out of the equation through falsely believing that every action and thought they have must be perfect and worthy according to some standard. You can never fully love another if you leave yourself out, for you too are a part of the whole. You are, always have been, and cannot avoid being less than infinitely lovable because you are made of love. Believing yourself to be unworthy of love represents a state of consciousness that most of you have evolved beyond. It is okay to make mistakes, fall flat on your face spiritually, or fail to live up to another's concept of success. Let go of all resistance, replacing it with laughter and acceptance. Failure is simply a word representing the third-dimensional belief system and has nothing to do with who and what you are, but everything to do with what you are on earth to learn. Learn to love everything in your lives, which means living without resistance, guilt, fear, or rigid rules about how things should be. No more shoulds. Simply be with every experience, observing thoughts and emotions without resistance no matter what may come floating through, because thoughts and beliefs only become yours personally when you claim them as yours. Practice responding to every emotion or thought of fear, anger, resistance, shame, judgment, excitement, or whatever with one word, interesting, asking yourselves, what am I believing that is making me feel this way? Is it true? No shock, no resistance, no giving some word or thought power for good or bad, just one response, interesting. As you learn to do this, you retrain your thought processes and neutralize the power you have ignorantly given to things. Love every perceived flaw and fault in yourself and others, for they are markers showing you what you still hold in consciousness. Once judgment is no longer a part of your conditioning, you will find it easy and natural to love self and others. You will begin to experience true freedom, the freedom to laugh and embrace the idiosyncrasies and ridiculous situations that come with living in a physical body. You learn to judge nothing as being bad or good, but as simply facets of the evolutionary journey. As you do this work, you will find that the thoughts, beliefs, opinions, words, judgments, etc. of others simply lose any power they may have had over you. You begin to live out from that still quiet place within where the nonsense of the unillumined never reaches. Love has no rules, love just is. Love is simply living each moment from a consciousness of oneness. All is perfect. Evolution is the process of remembering that. We are the Arcturian group. Channeled by Marilyn Raphael. At this point I am being guided to add something the Arcturian group wants to say about the violence in Paris. This violence represents an effort by the energy of those seeking to remain in power while being removed by the light. The energy of those who did these acts is being manipulated and promoted by those seeking to remain a force of power and, thus continue as they have before. Send unconditional love to all involved. Adamus. Send light to all involved, the people as well as the perpetrators, for the perpetrators are hypnotized by the energy of those who seek to remain a force of power.